Alright, so one of the things that I watched in 2022 was Black Lagoon, which is the Madhouse anime that came out in 2006, and I freaking loved this show. It was so good. Like, I enjoyed watching this anime a ton. Like, I had seen some clips of it online before, and it looked pretty cool, so I checked it out. And I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, because I really really like this show. I mean, it's just really good. I definitely recommend it. So and first of all, we got to talk about the animation, which looks amazing, especially for something that came out in 2006. Like, Madhouse did an absolutely incredible job with Black Lagoon, and I mean. Another thing I love about the show, this show is so fucking funny. Like, I laughed so hard at so many moments in this show, especially in the dub, which the dub is really good. I think the funniest moment has to be the church shootout scene, which, that happens at the ripoff church when that Indian girl comes to try to get protection from the people chasing her. I saw that on YouTube before. I saw that scene on YouTube before watching the show, and I was like, okay, I have to watch this show. Like, what's going on? Like, that scene was so incredibly fucking funny. And of course there was, and I think the second funniest moment for me in the series was the moment where remember where that Nazi was holding the gun up to Revy, and he was bragging so much about how, oh, this is the greatest gun of all time, and you cannot handle its awesome power, and it's just like, it's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? And Revy just shot him because he was taking too long to brag about his gun. Like, shut the fuck up. Oh my gosh. This show is so funny. Like, it makes me laugh so hard at so many of its moments. Like, this show has really good comedy. So Black Lagoon is just really funny and entertaining. It's just such a joy to watch. And I just I don't know. It's just one of the things where maybe some people won't like it and it won't be their cup of tea. But for me, I just like watching really violent shit where the characters swear all the time, because they don't hold back with the cursing in the show, which I appreciate. And seriously, all the characters, most of the characters, just so incredibly badass and savage. And it's basically the show is basically just Black Air Force, the show, where Black Air Force energy. You know what I'm talking about. That thing on. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, yeah, it's just incredibly entertaining to watch with all these characters, how they're so casual about the extreme violence that's going on. Yeah, but anyway, in addition though, Black Lagoon isn't just like a popcorn flick where you watch it and you're just entertained at all the action and swearing and comedy going on all the time. Black Lagoon can also get deep and go into some serious and interesting territory. I mean, for example, you have there's a lot of really great dialogue scenes in the show. For example, you have that scene in the submarine in, I don't remember what it was, maybe episode 5, where Revy is talking to Rock about how, basically they're having this interesting conversation about how Rock thinks that everything that happened in the submarine is sort of, memories, and it matters what happened out there, whereas Revy is telling him that, there's no difference between this object and this guy's skull, because in the end they're both just things to be, sold for value. And there's a lot of really great conversations like that in the show, and I really and I think the characters in this, I really like the characters in the show. I think they're really cool, and I love how they, sort of challenge each other and each other's ideals throughout the series. So, yeah, that's really, really cool. In regards to the main-ish character, I mean, technically not the main character, but sort of the character that everyone associates with the show, which is Revy Two Hands. I think she's a really great character. She's incredibly entertaining and badass, and she has a lot of really cool moments. But at the same time, Revy isn't just the badass femme fatale character. Like, the show also lets you see her flaws and how she basically, uses violence as a coping mechanism because she doesn't really want to allow herself to feel things. She's very closed off, and she, like, sort of, is very toxic to a lot of other characters, and, like, is, sort of lashes out at them a lot. And the show, like, the show doesn't sort of, the show doesn't really, like, forgive her for that, and it actually challenges her. Like, Rock, who's technically the main character, is also pretty great too. Seeing him go through a lot of character development from developing from this scared businessman to this scheming criminal was, like, pretty awesome and cool. So yeah, I definitely like those two main leads a lot. One of my favorite interactions in the show, and one of my favorite scenes, was actually between the two of them, where in episode 7, where basically Rock, actually stands up to Revy, calling her out for her toxicity, where, Revy is basically like, if you keep talking to me like this, I'm going to kill you. And there is a lot of tension in that scene, because it actually seems like Revy might actually, kill Rock, and it's just like, but you see him actually, like, sort of saying, no, I'm not going to take this anymore. Like, you're basically acting like the exact same way as my boss was basically treating me, like, when I was in the old civilized world. And it's a great scene, because in the end, like, Revy is sort of able to come to an understanding of Rock more, and they sort of reconcile. And speaking of which, I gotta say, like, I know I'm not the only one who is shipping these two together. Like, is anyone else here a Revy X Rock shipper? Because, like, I mean, like, there's definitely a lot of moments in the show where the tension is sort of there between them, romantically. Like, I mean, you got the cigarette kiss that happens in episode 7, and, like, in the Roberta arc later, where in the OVAs, like, Revy basically is just walking around naked in the apartment where Rock is there. Like, the tension is palpable, as yeah, it's definitely palpable, and I definitely ship the two together. I mean, I think they have a really cool and really interesting relationship that is fraught with a lot of, like, disagreements and strife, but at the same time, it's just, like, really interesting to watch, and I really like the two of them together. I think they have a great dynamic, and I do ship them, so yeah. And so, I also really like the side characters in the show, too. I mean, like, Benny is great. I think he's really funny and has a lot of cool moments, even though he's not super... even though he doesn't get a ton of focus. Dutch is really cool. I like his character, too. Bella Laika is just, like, this... Oh, my gosh, Bella Laika. My gosh, man. She is just, like... Oh, she is just so incredibly savage and, like, intimidating. Like, but she's also a pretty cool and great character as well. And, like, Ida from the Ripoff Church, like, she's a really cool and entertaining character. Like, I just absolutely love her banter with Revy. Like, and, so yeah, she's great too. I will say, like, they were going into some very interesting stuff with Ida's character, where it was revealed basically that, spoilers, I guess, I will be, like, not really holding back on spoilers in these videos, but yeah, so it's basically revealed that Ida sort of she is actually a CIA agent secretly, and that was a pretty cool reveal, but I sort of wish they went more into it and, like, actually fleshed out that aspect of her character, but whatever. No, but she was still great. I really like Ida. And Roberta, freaking Roberta, man. Oh my gosh, Roberta. We're gonna get to her, but oh my gosh, like, she is just insane. Like, oh my gosh, you really would not, like, it's so strange, because she's, like, arguably the most badass and powerful character in this entire show, and she's like a maid. Like, never trust maids in anime. They will always, like, fuck your shit up at every opportunity. Like, especially Roberta. Like, oh my gosh, Roberta. She's just, like, so incredibly savage. But I also really liked her character too. And I like, because here's the thing, like I keep saying, which is that, like, so many of the characters in Black Lagoon are, like, so incredibly badass and savage and, like, are dripping with Black Air Force energy. But at the same time, I also really like their characters, and I also think they have, like, a lot of complexities to them as well. So that's one thing I really like, because this series, again, it isn't just action. It isn't just badassery. There are also a lot of layers to the characters as well, which I really like, which I think elevated this series to be more than what I necessarily expected from it. So yeah, and I mean, in the end, I don't really think there's much I dislike about Black Lagoon. I think it's really good, and I would definitely like. I mean, this is definitely a classic. I would definitely recommend it to any anime fan or even any non-anime fan out there. I mean, it's really good, man. Check it out, definitely. I would say my one major issue with the series, with Black Lagoon, is that there is so much plot armor. I mean, like, seriously, like, Revy, like, you see Revy, like, killing, like, 5 people per episode on average, and there are so many moments where, like, people have her in their sights, and they have guns pointed at her, and, like, but they hesitate to shoot, and it just, like, it really doesn't make any sense, because there's so many moments where, like, if the bad guys or antagonists were actually, like, being serious, then Revy and the rest would be dead, but, like, you have all these moments where, like, they have, again, it's like, they should be dead by this point. Like, it's so ridiculous that, like, that the characters haven't all been shot by this point. But, like, again, it's like, the bad guys have stormtrooper aim, but the protagonists, like, somehow always get their mark in, and it's just, like, it doesn't make any sense, and you sort of have to it tests your suspension of disbelief, but at the same time, like, you know, you sort of roll with it where, okay, like, I get it, the main characters obviously can't die, but it's just, like, it sort of does draw the tension out of the whole scenario, because it's like, okay, like, all of these, like, you know, you're seeing, like, 25 people going up against Revy, and, like, of course she's gonna make it out fine, of course she's gonna, like, kill every single one of them. It's like, it does bother me, like, the plot armor in the show, but you sort of learn to let go of it. But anyway, so going through it, in regards to all the individual story arcs, in season one, I thought they started off with, I think season 1 started off great with the first 2 episodes, you know, where everything happens, where Rock is introduced to the crew, and, you know, sort of gets into this thing where his boss basically tries to kill him to cover up evidence of this corruption that was going on. I thought that was pretty cool. It was a nice start to the series. I liked it. So the neo-Nazi storyline I thought was pretty good. Like, it was pretty cool and entertaining, and had a lot of great moments in it. The introduction of Roberta the freaking Terminator was really great. It's just like, it was cool too, though, because seeing how the thirsty. Yeah, so it was cool too, because seeing the Black Lagoon crew, like Revy and Dutch, like, being these really badass, cool characters who, like, were able to find themselves out of every situation. Like, up till this point, it was cool. But in the Roberta arc, we actually see them, like, really actually be afraid and, like, sort of running away from this character who was, like, so incredibly badass and terrifying, the Terminator maid, that they couldn't handle her. And we're like, and it was cool to see them actually being put on their back foot and actually being, like, you know, that they couldn't handle the situation, so they had to just, like, run away from her because she was so incredibly terrifying. So yeah, I really like the Roberta arc. The final arc in season 1, it was pretty tense and exciting, and there were a ton of great moments, and they introduced also a character that I also really like, and I think is pretty entertaining, which is the I don't remember her name, but it's the one that Revy calls Chinglish. Like, she was so incredibly funny. Like, I just, like, smiled whenever she was on screen. Like, but yeah. So in the end, though, I don't know. I feel like the arc, my big problem with it is that, like, even though it was really cool and it had great momentum, like, it didn't really end. I don't know. I feel like it didn't really amount to much in the end. Like, the whole terrorist plot that they were trying to stop, I didn't really understand it very much. And, like, in the end, it sort of just petered out, where the guy who was the guy who was leading the plot sort of just gave up in the end and went away, and I don't know. So that is sort of an issue I have with the arc. In regards to in season 2, the first arc in season 2, I honestly wasn't really, like, that interested in the vampire twin arc. So basically, you know, they had the whole arc where you have the crazy ancestral vampire twins who, that's a sentence, that happened. But yeah, you have these ancestral twins who are basically like these savage, cold-blooded killers, and I don't know. I think my big problem with it is that I just didn't really find myself interested in the actual twins that much, because like I constantly had to suspend it constantly suspended my disbelief, where basically it stretched my suspension of disbelief so much, where that these kids could be such effective and such unstoppable killers, where again, because like obviously like I was sort of questioning it, because like basically I had heard about the vampire twins arc before watching the series, and I was questioning, okay, so this show actually does have like supernatural elements to it as well, and isn't just like a crime narrative. But it actually turns out that no, the kids aren't actual vampires, and they can still go out in the sun. They still don't have like healing powers or anything like that. They don't have superhuman strength. So, but that actually makes me have to suspend. It actually stretches my suspension of disbelief even more, because like, okay, so you tell me that like vampires and the supernatural exist in this world. Okay, like maybe I can buy into that, but I cannot buy into the fact that like these little kids could possibly be such effective killers that they could take down an army from this Belle Lyca chick who is like who has these soldiers who are so incredibly organized and so incredibly effective at what they do, and they could do such damage to them without being killed. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But like, I don't know. I mean, like, the arc has some good moments. It does focus on Belle Lyca a lot and her character, which I really like. And, the moment where she does get her revenge in the end, with her being able to kill them was really cool. So I did like that. But overall in the arc, I don't think it was necessarily one of the better arcs in Black Lagoon. Then after that, you have the whole counterfeit arc, which was with that Indian girl who came to was basically trying to escape her bosses, which this arc wasn't super serious, it wasn't super story-based, and didn't have like a ton of development for the characters, but I still really liked it. I thought it was really cool and really fun, and like, I really liked the arc. I think it had a lot of really funny moments, a lot of really great action scenes, and I mean, come on, like, it has Hank Hill trying to murder Revy with propane. You don't get much better than that. Like, how can you not like the arc with that in it? Oh my gosh. That was so fucking random. Like, this Hank Hill knockoff comes in and tries to burn Revy to death on the boat. That was so fucking funny, man. Like, obviously it isn't Hank Hill, but come on, it's Hank Hill, man. They were referencing him. Oh my gosh. So anyway, in regards to season 2, with the last arc of season 2, I think the last arc of season 2 was really good in a lot of ways, in how it showed like this different side of Rock and Revy, and I think it had a really cool. I like the last arc of season 2 where they sort of went back to Japan, because obviously even though the main character Rock is Japanese, the story had sort of been set outside of Japan and in a lot of other places, like in Mirandapur. I think it was I think it was somewhere in, what was it, Vietnam, or no, I don't know, but yeah, anyway, so but yeah, in this episode we finally go back to Rock's homeland, which is Japan, and I liked a lot of moments in it, because there were a lot of slow moments in this arc, which I really appreciated, because it just like sort of allowed the characters to be in this situation where it wasn't super high action all the time, and I think that I think I like that, because it sort of does show that like this series isn't just all about the action, and it isn't just all about the excitement and the humor and the cursing and the violence and that stuff. And I don't know, I just really liked seeing Rock and Revy together, where you see this small scene of like Revy like sort of hanging out with these kids and sort of trying to be this cool older sister type to them. And it was just a really cool scene, because it sort of shows a different side of her than we usually see. And we also see how basically after Rock comes in and sees her doing that, she basically tries to cover for himself and saying like, if you tell anyone about this, like, you're dead, because she like, again, she doesn't like being vulnerable in that kind of way, and she doesn't like being seen as that kind of person. And I really liked how Revy was basically, like, throughout the whole arc, she was basically trying to say to Rock, you should. She was trying to say to Rock, you should think about like returning to your old life and maybe not hang out with us so much because you still have a chance to go back. And I thought it was really interesting how she was caring for Rock in that way, because it sort of gets into the deeper psyche of Revy to where she is sort of like wanting Rock to go back to his old life, because in a way Revy sort of is not necessarily that happy with the life she has as a criminal in that sort of environment where all she kind of knows is like violence, and she's sort of trying to save Rock as it is, because she's sort of like it sort of gives her hope in a way for that she can somehow be saved in the future. And it's like it's really interesting character stuff, and I think this show is definitely deeper than people give it credit for, because there's really a lot to analyze with these characters and with the story. However, So yeah, I did like a lot of aspects of the last arc of season 2, but at the same time, like, I think it went on a little too long, and I mean, because it is like 6 episodes, which is longer than any of the other arcs in the series, and so in the series thus far anyway, and like my one, I don't know, like my one big problem with it is that like it focuses a lot on obviously the Yakuza storyline, which is the main storyline of it, and it focuses a lot on the character of Yukio, who is basically this teenage girl who basically, with all of her relatives kind of dead, she is sort of forced to take up this position as the leader of the Japanese mafia, and like I don't know, I didn't really care about the storyline too much, because I just didn't really care about Yukio for me. Like, for me, Yukio was just kind of a very boring character. She didn't really show much emotion at many points, and like, because it should be a really good storyline with her, and she should be a really interesting character, because she's this character who's choosing to basically forgo her normal life in her like school and with her friends, to basically sort of look out for the people that her father, I think it was, that once protected in the Yakuza. And it should be really interesting, but I just don't really find Yukio herself that much of an interesting character, because she barely emotes, throughout the arc, and I just and that bothered me, because like even when like her bodyguard like died and was killed by Revy, she like didn't even have any moment where she like really cried or anything like that. And like, I don't know, I just felt that she was like, I get that she was like maybe trying to bottle up her emotions, but I don't know, I just didn't really feel like she was that compelling of a character. So that is like the main issue that I had with the arc, which is that like the main centerpiece of it, which is supposed to be important, and which was Yukio, I didn't really like her. So honestly, like that is my one main issue with the arc. So anyway, so after season 2, we get into the OVAs, which there's 5 of them, and they tell one continuous story arc, which is the Roberta story arc. And honestly, I think Roberta's blood trail was probably the best story arc of, honestly, in the whole Black Lagoon series, because I really thought this arc was honestly like almost perfect. Like the Roberta's blood trail arc, it was so good. Like honestly, and like I really didn't have almost any issues with it. Like Roberta, of course, I really love Roberta. She was put front and center with her being an absolute monster, and but also again with her being like this incredibly badass and incredibly effective killer. But also seeing like again, it's not just action and character. It's not just badassery. It's also seeing how Roberta's psyche is basically like sort of breaking, where she's so obsessed with like revenge for her master, because the family that took her in was basically murdered by the U.S. government because of like ties to leftism and stuff, which U.S. government, CIA, that kind of stuff. But yeah, and seeing her like sort of going on this revenge spree and trying to like take down the people responsible was really interesting. And you see sort of how over the course of the arc, like her psyche just starts splitting apart, where she's like, and she even ends up almost killing the person she was trying to protect, the Garcia boy, in 2 separate occasions, which you see how like, again, like, because I know like a lot of people will chalk this series up to like, oh, it's all just action, it's all just a popcorn flick, but it's really not, because it goes into like serious topics and shows how like all this violence, even though it is obviously entertaining to watch, can like be so detrimental to a person's well-being and their emotional balance. And like and with Roberta, she you see how she sort of goes off the deep end in this arc. And like and so I really like seeing that. And of course, Rock, I think one of the best things about this arc was Rock and how he really came into his own in this arc and became like a truly active schemer, trying to like mess up everyone's plans and, you know, sort of implement his own plans. And I really like that because like I feel like I do like Rock throughout the series, but I feel like he wasn't always the most active character after he was sort of introduced in the first 2 episodes. But I feel like in this arc, he really came into his own, and you sort of see a lot of the potential he has as like this actual you know, brainiac scheming behind the scenes and sort of setting everything up for the dominoes to fall. So I really like that, and I really like the role that Rock played in this arc. And of course, there were a lot of more interesting stuff seen between. It sort of expands upon the relationship which we saw between Rock and Revy in the last one, where in this arc, you know, Revy keeps sort of again trying to like you know, sort of save Rock and telling him he's, you know, not really cut out for this kind of thing. But you see how he is sort of already sort of fallen into the darkness and fallen into this life of a criminal. Especially you can see how like the events of the last arc and Yukio's death have sort of made him more jaded and in a lot of ways. And you know, at the same time, him also trying to like do like sort of these wrong things and these really sleazy manipulative things, but for the right reason, but also like doing things for the right reason for the wrong reason, because he's sort of like doing it all for the purposes of like you know, sort of his pride and trying to like get back at Bellalaika basically. And I mean, like, so yeah, that's and Mr. Cheng too as well. I think that's his name. But so yeah, it's a lot of really interesting stuff with the characters this time around. We also see sort of glimpses of Revy's past as well, and like the abuse she went through, and like how she was you know, and sort of the reasons why she is the way she is. And like, you know, so yeah, I really like the Roberta's Blood Trail arc. I thought it was really good. I think it was the best arc of the series, and there was just like, it was so incredibly tension filled, and like it was so incredibly tension filled, and like so much really amazing action, and I really liked it. I mean, my one issue with the arc is just like that very weird scene at the end of it, where like Garcia goes up and smooches his maid Roberta. Like, I did not understand that arc. Like, what? Like, what? Like, what was their relationship ever implied to be sexual in any way? And he's like a fucking 14-year-old kid. I did not. That scene was so weird, and like it doesn't really result in anything. But I just like I did not understand it, because like, what the fuck was that? I don't know. That was just like so incredibly weird to me. But anyway, disregarding that, I thought the arc was really great, and I loved pretty much every minute of it. And this is like one of the greatest arcs in anime, honestly. And so yeah. Anyway, so in regards to you know, Black Lagoon, I loved it, and you should definitely check it out. And because it's like really good. It's one of the best anime I've ever seen. So yeah, I mean, like it legitimately is one of the best anime I've ever seen. And like, I really just hope that in the future there is some sort of revival of sorts, because like obviously you know, I know the manga kept going on past the anime, and they only adapted basically the chapters that were available at the time. You know, obviously, like, I know that, and, you know, right now, obviously, you know, a lot of stuff in the series is not quite resolved. We haven't really, had a resolution to many of the characters' arcs. Like I said before, with Ida, we sort of got that information that she was a CIA agent, and, you know, we didn't really get any sort of, resolution to that plot line. So, you know, obviously some of the things in the series are left unresolved, and I really would like to see a sort of revival of this series, because I think it's really good, and I think you know, it's just really great. And it's a shame that it only had to go on for as long as it did. But you know, I know that the mangaka, he basically has a lot of issues with the hiatuses and his mental health, but I know that the series in the manga is farther along than the anime did go. So I really would like to see a revival of the series, because I thought it was really good, and it left me wanting more, and I just really like Black Lagoon. So you should definitely check it out, because it's really great. So yeah, that's basically what I thought about it. If you have your thoughts, leave them down in the comments below. This has been the Aromantic Shipper. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, remember, just because you can't feel love doesn't mean you shouldn't want other people to. Bye.